Burnout 2 Point of Impact is a sequel to the popular game that started off the series that would be released for the PlayStation 2 in the year 2002 with later ports to the Nintendo GameCube and Xbox in 2003. And this game would also be developed by Criterion Games and would also expand upon many elements that would have been seen in the original, with additional modes, new cars, a lot of new features across the board. It just was a massive expansion across the board, with additions to different game modes such as crash damage mode as well, where you can race into traffic head on to cause as much damage as you can possibly do, all while trying to rack up enough points based off the amount of damage that you accumulate through each run. And ideally it's a fantastic mode to play with your mates because you can all compete to see who can get the best points, if you will, or the best scores. So the game definitely expands upon many features that would have been seen in the original. Again, with different tracks, different versions of cars. You can also unlock modified versions of the cars that you start out with in the game as well. And a lot of these modified versions have all been inspired by iconic movies back at the time, such as like the Fast and the Furious franchise. While they're not fully licensed cars, they are reflective of popular cars that would have been seen around that time. And even the handling dynamics of the cars as well has been drastically improved as well to give the whole experience definitely more of a positive feel. Now that doesn't take away from the original game. The original entry in the series is iconic for its own reasons, as it is a fantastic game. I have done a previous video of the first Burnout game, so I'll make sure to drop a link to that video down in the description. And this game would prove to be quite popular and would go on to be quite successful, and would also be added to the PlayStation Platinum lineup of games due to the game selling in high quantities. But this game would also be the last in the Burnout series that would be run by Acclaim Entertainment, as Acclaim would go bankrupt in 2004, and which would leave the series to be acquired by Electronic Arts, which would lead on to Burnout 3 Takedown, which is considered by many to be among one of the best racers, if not the best racer on the PS2, and one of the best racing games of all time. But it definitely took a different approach and definitely moved away slightly from the original two games in the series, although it does have a lot of similar features. But it definitely looks and feels and plays very differently from the previous two games, but it's still a phenomenal game in its own right. So with the goal of Burnout 2 is to race on tracks and obviously play on through the different modes, all with the aim to acquire points to unlock all of the other vehicles and additional tracks in the game. So there's loads of different modes and available features with different types of tracks. There's a multitude of different cars, and like I mentioned, modified versions of the standard cars in the game, and the overall sense of speed was also greatly improved as well. Just the whole game and the whole experience was just a massive overhaul of the original. And while it's not considered to be the best game in the Burnout series, it is a damn fine game, and it is one of the best racers in my opinion on the PS2. Both the GameCube and Xbox versions would gain access to additional features and additional tracks that wouldn't have been in the PS2 version. But for me personally, I had originally played the first Burnout game way back, when not long after it came out. I remember a mate of mine had it, but where I really got into the series was with Burnout 2 Point of Impact, and I primarily got to play it originally through a demo on one of the monthly demo discs that you would have got in one of the magazines. I just happened to buy it one month, and Burnout 2 was on it as part of a playable demo. Now you could only just play on the one track, and you played as one of the modified cars. It was small, like hot hatch, like a red cow, and I remember being blown away by it because I did really like the original Burnout game, but this, I was addicted to that demo. I played that demo for months. I probably played that demo as much as I played any of the games that I had at that time. Mind you, I didn't have a lot of games for the PlayStation at that time period, but that demo definitely racked up a lot of hours, let's just put it that way. It was just so much fun trying to avoid traffic, trying to win races, but also to even just go bananas and literally just cause as much mayhem as you could, because for its time the sense of speed in the game was quite incredible, all the while not the fastest game by today's standards, but for its time it was one of the fastest paced racing games that was seen on any system. It was just really frantic in how it played, and it was so much fun, and it still is so much fun even today. Even going back to play it when recording this video, it brought it all back for me. Like, I realised that the game is still just as good and just as playable today as it's ever been. It's so much fun, and you can quickly get addicted to it. That's the funny thing about it. When you go through all of the races and you start unlocking additional vehicles, it prompts you to want to keep playing, and that's due to the addictive qualities and nature of the game. It really is a fun game. Now I know many people don't consider this to be the best in the series, which it probably isn't in most regards, especially when you compare it to the third game, which is considered to be the best in the series and one of the best racing games of all time. But this is still a really good alternative, and it still is, for me personally, one of the best racers on the PS2, hands down. It just is a really good solid title, and it's definitely worth being in anyone's collection, in all honesty. It just has a multitude of different modes between championships and even multiplayer modes, and again with the crash modes as well. There's just more than enough here to create a very compelling arcade experience that is definitely reflective in its frantic nature, and it really is just a very fun and addictive game to play. And yet, if you haven't played Burnout 2 or any of the games in the series, you really are missing out. They are a fantastic series of games, and Criterion would later go on to work on the more recent Need for Speed games, so that will tell you the lineage that's behind the development team that worked on these games. They do know how to make really good racing games, and it's apparent from these earlier entries, so they do it quite well. But I'd love to know your thoughts on Burnout 2 Point of Impact, and what do you think of the game in general. Would it be one of your favourite games in the Burnout series? I'd love to hear whatever thoughts you do have of this awesome game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content around other types of racing games, also seen on the PS2, then you can check out the playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action. And I will see you all in the next one.